Hey guys. So those of you, so today is another holiday. Well, I consider it a holiday, but to those dads out there, including myself, but I mean especially my dad always giving me advice of how I can improve as a man, as somebody has always referred to me as being the best thing in his life. um Comes from somebody, and I'm going to state this, but stating this coming from somebody who I'm very lucky to have in my life, through maybe his traumatizing experience as a kid where he was abused a lot, and it was a routine, meaning that he, main a lot of his scars he had to hide. Otherwise, nobody would have known. I mean, really hiding them for as long as he did, so people didn't know what was truly going on. And parents that often don't want to take responsibility or ownership of a beating or abusing their children, they'll have them wear longer clothes to hide the marks. And that is through, um my dad, on since he was like the target. I don't second guess of really what happened, because I know it's all truthful, and it's all, I mean, people have also seen it. I mean, my dad was the target, but other people also did see it unfold. But it shows you that abuse can lead to freedom. When you are brutally getting beaten and it's a routine, you're a survivor. You're less likely to go back and deliver that to family, maybe your second family, really your second family, or the family you'll be having in the future. So future experiences never were a thing. And my dad was even, very nervous when I was born that he was going to be like his mom, but he didn't turn out that way at all. And if older me was there, you know, but the thing is, one of the best things my dad was there for was seeing me grow up into the man that I've become. And really, for a dad to state that, you're the best thing that's ever happened to them, really shows them how grown up you've gotten. It's really more through like growth, through tolerating being strong physically. I mean, because really, I feel like anybody can relate to this, but when those that state that they were slaves in something, I understand that. I definitely understand it, but to better phrase it in a way people might understand is that this world, I feel like, within like the 5 years we've had, has really it's a world that you can embrace as much as we all want to. And Father's Day, I feel like, is just as important to me as Juneteenth is, because I mean that's the thing is Frederick Douglass also was an important figure because he also talked a lot about women rights, that women should have just the equivalent amount of rights, and the fact that men unfortunately, I mean, another really good thing is Frederick Douglass talked about a lot about education. And, as I said too, like he developed and learned the skills on his own to read. And one of the many things I I actually, it is a quote that he did write, but it was a really awesome quote, but it has to do with teaching children and leaving men um um I will say, depending on how you use it, it can be a powerful quote, but also growing up, it talks about growth where, like, you're not a kid anymore. For me, you're not a kid anymore when you turn 18. You're growing into an adult, you're growing into a woman or a man. So for me, this quote talks about the struggle with growth, but also sometimes, I mean, most times when people grow, it can be a struggle to grow. It can be it can definitely be something that many people may not want to embrace, choose to embrace, but and nobody is stating that you can't go back to child side. I mean, you can't go back to like child passions, but you're not going to be considered, once you turn 18, you are not going to be considered a child. I mean, some people, yes, they're, since typically when people state you as like, I remember you as a child, they remember you for such a long time and probably haven't seen you for so long, until, because they're gonna that, and they're complimenting how much you've grown up. Or they'll often state, when I look back, I remember this little 8-year old boy, or this 4-year old boy, or girl, or 8-year old girl. You know what I mean? Like it's a compliment, and then they'll kind of state like, and how far you've come. What are you doing? Doing a live. Um, but yeah, I mean, the most important thing in life is that um, we're gonna shed things of what we don't like around the world, and that involves society. That can involve an institution within a society, but that can also involve in what people state to us, where if we want to know the real truth, we physically have to be there to see it and observe it. I mean, and that's something I used to struggle with, is I'd always like hear things that people would say to me, and it's like I kind of want to see this or do this for myself to get the full on experience. But though that is a way you can become more independent and less like determined what people tell you. But my thing in life is that if you freedom is freedom. Now freedom comes free. And often and I think that's one of the most important lessons, you know, especially Frederick Douglass stated, everybody's freedom should not at all be an investment, or should be have something that will cost them, or a cost that will cost their freedom. Freedom is freedom. People often want to invest in money and say, in order to get your freedom, you have to invest, or you have to give what you don't have to get your freedom. And I know this from when I was transitioning from schools, from the towards the end of 7th grade, because I knew by looking around my setting, my surroundings, knowing myself, I wasn't going to make it through or finish 7th grade. Well, I would have, but I know I wasn't going to be able to go to my classes as somebody who would or really wanted to experience that. And because many things is that when somebody transitions to a different school, in this case, the middle school in Freiburg, they, I feel like they didn't want to pitch in to do it. But I see a couple people I used to go to middle school with transitioning to that school without having to pay anything. Now, the school, I feel like, was expecting to get cash in for me to get transferred. But that is typical school. I feel like that's one of the many things, not just in school districts, but observing it firsthand, is how people, I mean, and you don't have to serve people before yourself. And I've really looked into that, is when people say, well, we can't provide the money. to send somebody there. They're not there. That's their way of saying that we need money for Tom to transfer over to a school. So they're hiding that disclosure. They're um they're stating something completely out of the ordinary, saying that the school doesn't have enough to pay for that. Well, it's BS, because after I remember my first year there, I started to to have at least two people I went to school with before come to Future Builders, and parents not even having to pay anything for their for them to transfer there. And the thing is, what makes teachers so oblivious to really look at the finances rather than the needs of students, it's very disgusting. Because we're students, so we're definitely the teachers as well. We get to teach the teachers that we're young, that you expect for somebody to be young to provide you the money for us to have a fucking change. Um, I don't. There's some school districts. I mean, MSID 72. I don't know about Freiburg Academy, but and maybe Molly, because Mollyocket, I will. I mean, the thing is, Mollyocket had a lot of people that decided to quit too, and that's for multiple reasons of what they also. I mean, a lot of it is through what teachers had experienced in schools like Mollyocket is what made them like what the hell is happening. But they want explanations why teachers are doing this to students, why students have to be the ones who pay, because that's exactly how really I feel like it started, was being transferred. The district really districts are gonna hide, and they're going to give you an excuse. They're going to give you something to believe in, where that's really not the full length of action. They can't do the money, but really you can just say up front and be honest that they need money coming in, or that they, as I said, or just as I said, if they're not giving you an answer, I would be straightforward with them and I would say, "Are you choosing not?" If I were in that meeting, that's one of the very few questions I would ask. Now, are you stating to me you I mean, is this legit? Is this believable information that you wouldn't be able to transfer me because of the lack of money going into the district? Or is there a completely different reason? Because, as I said, if it was a normal student, I personally feel like just schools don't want to see the full picture. They don't want to see As long if it's money gone or if it's money coming in, that's the big thing, is the transferring. Is money's great, but really, and I want to go back to the original Frederick Douglass. This is what I mean by when we typically pick crops, you know, it's like taking crops without plowing the crops. Meaning that when we see something that we want, that we need, we're gonna walk right up to it and and grab it, right? Whereas actually doing the physical work to get there is much different. Meaning plowing up the soil before grabbing the crops out of the ground. But it led me into my life I mean, yes, I do listen to legit information that is true, but since AI has been a long going issue for a lot of people, I mean, it's AI. It's not even real. It's not even, I think about it as Ultron, right? Ultron is trying to kill off v- actual voices or people that did pass away. He's replacing them all with robots to make it believable. And that is not through thinking, that is through what is happening. But I don't believe in online opinions or really any like cult related comments or any support or word, because that's the thing, is freedom is free. Now when you give somebody an opinion and you give somebody, as I said, your own thoughts, it can be too much and it can hurt a person. And Michaela, that owned the Save a Fox Foundation, is was one of the people that inspired me for a while. That everybody, including humans, I feel like Charlie Kirk, I feel like seeing how much moose, I mean, yes, there is hunting season for moose, and moose, obviously, what really what really brings the reality of harm is, yes, I mean, cyberbullying is definitely those things that has the same effect, but more, as I said, cyber than in person fatality, or really murder. But Michaela had autism, she had a borderline personality disorder, and had depression. And, she was a woman who gave all these animals hope for, you know, for another life before their lives could have been over before rescuing them. And she devoted all of her time to that. But through family and friends, it got too much, and they started to give opinions. Even other facilities gave her hateful. Ethan had described it as hateful, and really just kind of like for what they would do and not for what Michaela would do. Meaning that people would often use opinion as what they would do rather than considering what Michaela does. So it really, and that's the thing, it was almost like exactly, being controlled of what to do. And that can throw somebody really downhill. It can screw with a lot of people, but Michaela, I would say, handled it. I don't blame Michaela. I mean, I don't think she could. I would say, out of how I would proceed with Michaela's passing, is how I would proceed with it. But I just don't. I can't picture somebody who did. I can see the full reality of like shootings, you know, and things like that going on, like at events and churches and things like that, like publicly. But I can't see anything quite devastating as what cyberbullying can do to somebody who dedicates physical work and enjoys every ounce of it, but also having a family and really having a daughter that will never forget the tragic piece about her mom. And that's why I've never tolerated cyberbullying or cyber harassment, because I will say, I'm somebody who doesn't stand for, oh well, excuses after excuses. I often will tell people, or not. A lot of it I would react, and I'd say, leave me alone, get out of here. Although I would use harsher words, language, but people never listen, and people think, oh, they can be the victims as stating like, "Oh, you're playing with my intelligence." Intelligence, you're calling yourself that smart. You just, I mean, people, I will say, that have disgusting behaviors often refer to themselves as or they will go into the victim role and question to people, you're, what is it, you're playing with my intelligence. It's like, no, you're playing with your own intelligence. Yeah.
I need your help. I can't take these downstairs.
What is it?
Clothes for
Okay.
washing.
Yep.
Yep,
I'll do it.
yep. Not tomorrow.
I'll do it.
Like in,
I'll do it.
yep.
But we but that's the thing is, you don't mean the thing is, if you don't, because I never ever would state to somebody that I was playing with their intelligence, but when they phrase that to somebody else, it's like you're doing that all on your own. You're making that happen for yourself. Just because somebody says no about something, that that's your way out. That's your way of taking care of what you need to take care of with yourself. But the most important piece of everything is freedom doesn't come in an investment. It doesn't come as currency. It comes as free as it can be. The United States is not a casino. It's the land of the free and the home of the brave.